Hello there guys, my name is MrYorkiesWorld and this is going to be my short, but hopefully to the point and hopefully helpful to those of you who haven't yet purchased this amazing scenery, review of Simwings or Aerosoft Mega Airport Madrid Professional, which was very kindly provided to me by my friends over at flightsim.com. It's an absolutely fantastic piece of scenery that I am really excited to review, so let's get into it. So a few videos back on my channel, we decided to fly into Madrid for the very first time with Ryanair flight 3187 from Manchester. It was a very windy flight, and we did have sort of a last-minute runway change due to the weather. However, we did manage to get a glimpse of the terminal buildings and surrounding areas of the airport. We touched down safely, that was all okay. The airport itself being extremely large, which did cause our frame rate to dip at some points below 21 FPS. But overall, I was very, very impressed with what I saw. Now, this Madrid scenery in question from Aerosoft covers Lima Echo Mike Delta, which is also known as Madrid-Barajas Airport, as well as some of the surrounding areas as well. Now, LAMD is the main international airport in the region of Madrid, and it's extremely detailed and looks fantastic in the daytime, and even in the evening time, things start to look a little bit better as well. The nighttime, I'll get onto that in a few minutes, but I was more impressed with the daytime and sort of evening cinematics than I was with the nighttime. SODE jetways are supported with this scenery, which is absolutely fantastic, and it's actually got like an aerial image which actually covers an area of around, I think it's 400 square kilometres, covering both the airport itself and the surrounding areas, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. There is so much there. There's auto-gen, there are realistic sort of ground textures and everything that sort of, it just adds to the immersion and makes everything look absolutely fantastic. So for me, that was a no-brainer. Getting this scenery, I mean, I thought to myself, Madrid anyway, it's Spain, it's going to look fantastic. I always have the soft spot for sort of Spanish sceneries. For some reason, I really like them, and we've done a lot of them on the channel. But yeah, I think they really did a really good job of the airport itself and the surrounding areas. There is also the option to configure the airport to use either north or south approaches, if that's something you want to change. In my case, I rely on Pro ATCX and Ultimate Traffic Live, and they sort of make their own decisions on what they're going to do based on the wind. So I'm not sure whether that would really be something which is too important to me. But nevertheless, we've also got a very detailed AFCAD as well, which includes the correct parking positions for whichever airline you're using, correct approach procedures, which I found to really help with the immersion. And to make things look a lot more realistic. Again, that's more down to Ultimate Traffic Live and Pro ATCX in my case, but it is a nice feature to have all of that included in any airport, regardless of what sort of scenery it is, as long as it's got a good AFCAD and it's got all the information that it needs to operate as close to what it would do in the real world as possible. Now, one of the great things about this scenery is that according to the special features list, all of the code or BGL files are compiled using the P3D V4 SDK. Now that means that basically it's perfectly optimized for P3D version 4 and onwards, so you shouldn't have any issues in terms of compatibility in, for example, the latest version of P3D at the time of making this video, which is P3D V4.5. I would say that the only issue I did find that could contradict that, that being the point about it being perfectly optimized for P3D version 4, is that in my case, I did get quite a few stutters and sort of long frames, if you will, so the sim would sort of freeze for a second or 2 seconds and then continue. And we also did have some extreme frame rate issues that I suffered when approaching and landing at this airport itself, even when I've actually reduced the settings down in the simulator and turned off some of the optional features in the config tool for this airport when I was actually installing the scenery itself. So we still had a bit of a performance issue, which I've got a pretty beefy system with an Intel Core i9 9900K and a GTX 1080 Ti. and I still struggled at times, getting down well below 25 FPS, sometimes, as I said earlier, below 21 FPS, which it's not a massive issue, but definitely something which might be possible for them to improve some way. There must be some sort of way that they can improve on it, and I'm hoping that potentially there might be an update in the future, or something might be changed in the sim. It might be a sim limitation, I'm not sure, but definitely there was a huge performance impact. Now, the config tool that's included with this scenery allows you to control dynamic lights by enabling or disabling them, depending on your preference. I prefer to have them enabled for extra immersion. Obviously, that can impact performance depending on your system and other things that are going on. Now, I use third-party lighting tools such as Black Marble from Chris Bell, and I also use the Orbex Lights configurator. So that might have something to do with, you know, performance as well. And in my case, I might have accidentally changed something to a higher or lower setting than what it should have been. But yeah, so there we go. Now, all of the gates and the stands in the airport have functional docking systems. Now, that's every single one of them. And the airport terminals themselves have got objects which are visible through the windows. So it's sort of slightly transparent, which you can actually pan inside of the airport building as well if you want to do that. And you will see stuff like departure boards, signposts telling passengers where to go, etc, etc, which I thought that was a pretty nice touch, to be honest. It's probably more noticeable at night time, but yeah, still a nice touch, something that they didn't necessarily have to do. They could have made it sort of opaque instead of making it transparent, but they decided to go for the transparent option, which in my opinion is absolutely fantastic. Now, one thing I would like to see in this scenery is more detailed ground textures in the surrounding areas, such as where this model aeroplane is on the sort of the outskirts of the airport grounds. Just as you drive towards the airport, you can see like there's a bunch of roads or markings where roads should be at least, and it's got like the model aircraft. I would say that looks a little bit pixelated, and it's also a little bit pixelated around that area. So perhaps they could improve that somehow. I'm not really sure. But it's not something which is essential in order to enjoy the scenery itself. It's just, again, me being very critical and trying to be as fair as I possibly can in this review. Moving on to night lighting. You'll see that I've not really included many night shots. It's mainly evening and daytime that I've included in this review in the cinematic video going in the background. And that's because the night lighting is good, but it could do with a little bit of work, to be honest. I found that the runway lights weren't as bright as they could be. Again, that might be due to me modifying them in Orbex Lights configurator or another tool similar to that. It might be something to do with dynamic lighting, or it might be something to do with the fact that I don't have a certain setting checked. You know, I've no idea. I do like to keep these reviews as short and to the point as possible. So in terms of Mega Airport Madrid Professional, I would definitely give this scenery a solid 8.5 out of 10, with the only reason for me not making that a 9 out of 10 being the performance issues and the lighting issues. Apart from that, it looks absolutely fantastic. Again, it's one of the main airports sort of in the Spanish region is Madrid. It's a massively complex airport, huge airport. It performs well. Not fantastic, but it performs well, depending on your settings. Looks fantastic, functions perfectly fine, no problems there. It's got all the features you can imagine that you would want from an airport like this. So yeah, an 8.5 out of 10. Again, it's me being very critical and trying to be as honest as possible. There's nothing stopping me from buying it whatsoever if I was to purchase this. Again, I was very lucky to have been given this by flightsim.com. My friends over there, go and check out their products on the website at flightsim.com or store.flightsim.com, where you can pick up this amazing scenery and many other sceneries and add-ons and things like that for P3D, FSX and other flight sim platforms. Apart from that, that is my extremely short review of Aerosoft's Mega Airport Madrid Professional. 8.5 out of 10. Really enjoyed reviewing it, really enjoyed using it and flying into it. And I'm sure I will have many more videos including this scenery or involving this scenery in the near future. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Give me a like if you did. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.